Getting started. My name is Bob Berg, and I'm with the Sumter Democratic Executive Committee, and welcome to Sumter County, home of the villages. So thank you all for being here. We have an exciting press conference this morning. We're going to have a number of speakers. Just logistics, we have 2 restrooms in the back. Please turn your cell phones to silent. And so we're going to have 4 speakers this morning. It's going to start out with our fabulous congressional candidate, Barbie Harden Hall. She's going to turn the mic over to Eric Lipsetz, who is going to talk about Social Security from a personal and senior perspective. And then we're lucky to have Tom Keene, a representative, Florida representative for House District 35. And finally, we have, we're blessed this morning to have Democratic Senate candidate Debbie Mucarsel-Powell. So anyway, that's the lineup, and so it's all yours. We know where you were last night. You know, Webster to the woodshed. So thank you.
Hello. My name is Barbie Harden Hall, and I'm your Democratic nominee for Congressional District 11. I am here to talk about the importance of Medicare and Social Security in Florida, not only to the millions currently using these earned benefits, but also to those of us who hope to retire one day. Donald Trump, along with his extremist allies in Congress, like Rick Scott and Daniel Webster, do not care about the consequences to seniors if they cut access to these critical lifelines. And they have proven they do not care because they have attempted to cut them before. Instead of doing their job and protecting our most essential programs that we have funded through our blood, sweat, and hard work, they have instead worked for the interests of the wealthiest and most powerful, which includes themselves. There are many differences between the 2 candidates we have running for president. A difference between a convicted felon and a prosecutor, a campaign focused on fear and division, and a campaign that is centered in joy and hope for a more perfect union. Candidates that are willing to see seniors on the street caused by their plans to cut Medicare and Social Security because it benefits them and their comrades with deep pockets. I'm supporting Vice President Kamala Harris and Governor Tim Walz in this election because I know they will prioritize Medicare benefits that so many Floridians rely on. They will also protect the Affordable Care Act, a lifeline that Donald Trump and his allies in Congress will terminate because their shame was too great when they failed to do so once before. The Affordable Care Act is a program that my family relies on for affordable health care benefits as a small, family-owned business like ours. Millions of us will become uninsured, and our health will suffer without these programs. A consequence too hard to imagine for myself and my family, who lost my 2-year-old son 2 years ago from a rare genetic condition. We have an administration that is working, and Vice President Harris will continue the work for the wealthy to pay their fair share so that we can enjoy our golden years, earned through decades of hard work. The Biden-Harris administration has led initiatives that benefit the people instead of the powerful. They have passed legislation that has lowered prescription drug prices and insulin costs. Donald Trump will be happy to see you work longer and continue to struggle while him and his friends' billions grow. Vice President Harris and Governor Walz will continue these important steps forward. And with the help of Debbie Mucarsel-Powell in the Senate and myself in the House, we will work tirelessly for our seniors and our workers, because we have all earned the right to not only retire one day, but to do so with dignity. We will work not only to safeguard Medicare and Social Security, but to strengthen them. Join me and stand up for our future. Volunteer, knock on doors, make phone calls, register voters, and work hard with us over the next 84 days. Communities like the villages prove that retirement is worth fighting for, and protecting. And we can do that by retiring Rick Scott and Daniel Webster. And we can also protect our freedom and our future by electing Vice President Kamala Harris and Governor Tim Walz in November. Thank you. I would now like to introduce my friend, Eric Lipsetz.
Hello, everyone. My name is Eric Lipsetz. I'm 72. From Baltimore. We moved to the Villages 3 years ago. My wife and I have been paid into Social Security for almost 100 years. Before moving, we sat down and we looked and saw how much expenses we were going to incur in order to be able to live in the Villages. And based on what we saw that we could make our ends meet. Now, our ends meeting included our Social Security payments that we had paid for. We don't live fancy. I play golf occasionally. We go, since we're from Baltimore, we're members of the Mid-Atlantic Club. We go to the Ravens Haven. We take dance lessons sometimes, and we occasionally go out to dinner. With our Social Security payment, we're able to make our ends meet. 80% of the villagers receive Social Security payments. If there are going to be major changes in the Social Security program, there are going to be major changes in the lifestyles that people have here in the Villages. Now, if you were to have those changes and they were to be cuts in Social Security or Medicare, we get put into the position where we have to reach into our savings in order for us to make our own end meet. And eventually, under those circumstances, our savings are going to run out. So we are worried when we hear talk that there's going to be cuts to Social Security, there's going to be cuts to Medicare. Those cuts mean that our time here in the Villages will ultimately be shortened, and may be shortened by as little as 3 to 4 years. Now, we need a person, in my view, we need a person in the White House who is going to save and protect and strengthen Social Security. Now, when we look out into the political world now, who is that going to be? Well, the first person that we see on the Republican side is Donald Trump and the Republicans. And what do they advocate? Well, history shows that they advocated cutting Social Security and Medicare every year that Trump was in the White House. They didn't want to cut it by millions, they wanted to cut it by billions. So then we look at the next side, is what is the other side, the Democratic side, advocating. The Democratic side is advocating for people like us, for the middle class and for the poor people to come in, and so they can get into the middle class. So they have the opportunities that they need in order to move up into the middle class and make this country truly great by having a totally strengthened middle class. They are advocating, instead of cuts to Social Security and Medicare, they advocate strengthening Social Security by taxing the ultra-rich and making sure that the ultra-rich pay their fair share into the Social Security Trust Fund so that the Social Security Trust Fund remains solvent. What else do? They advocate reducing lower prescription drug costs so that people don't have to pay $500 for insulin. Now it's just $35. These are the people I think that we can trust as we go forward. And so I encourage everyone here in the Villages to save Social Security, to save Medicare, and the people who are going to do that is the Harris-Walz ticket, the Mucarsel-Powell, the Holden ticket, the entire Democratic ticket. I encourage you to come out and support that ticket in vote by mail, in early voting, and on November 5th. Thanks.
morning, everyone. I'm Tom Keene. I'm the state representative and a Navy veteran from House District 35. So I proudly serve Orange and Osceola County, so just about an hour from here. I flipped a House seat this past January, winning a seat that had been held by Republicans for about 40 years. I tell this story, and I hope it's true, that I think Bill Nelson was our last state rep from this area. And you know that he went on to a bigger career. So clearly it's been a long time since we've had a Democrat in that House. Now the reason why I flipped it is because I focused on property insurance and women's reproductive rights. I did not focus, and I absolutely did not lean into culture wars. And that's what people want to hear. They want to hear kitchen table issues, things that impact them and their daily lives. But today I'm up here to talk to you about the threat of Trump's Project 2025, which would obviously be awful for Florida, especially for senior communities like here in the Villages. Project 2025 is a plan that was created by Trump, by those closest to him. It includes plans to raise costs on families, raise taxes on the middle class, allow Trump to rig the economy for himself and his ultra-wealthy friends, and make it harder for regular Americans to make ends meet, especially for our seniors. There is so much at stake in an election this year for Floridians. Vice President Harris and Governor Walz have a proven history of fighting for the people, while Trump spends every day fighting for himself and his personal power. Donald Trump and J.D. Vance have made it crystal clear they won't protect Social Security and Medicare, two programs that help around 5 million Floridians, 5 million Floridians every day. Right here where we're standing in Congressional District 11, over 250,000 Floridians age 65 or older receive Social Security, the highest number anywhere in Florida. Trump called Social Security a Ponzi scheme and recently said there is a lot you can do in terms of cutting these programs. And that's outrageous. Americans worked hard, I worked hard, played by the rules, paying into Social Security all of their lives. This isn't a favor we do for seniors. This is repaying a debt our country owes. But don't just take Trump's word for it, and Lord knows his word isn't worth much. Just look at what he's actually done. Every single year he was in office, Trump tried to cut Social Security and Medicare by billions. We heard Eric talk about that just now. Even after promising the American public that he would protect their benefits. And now Trump and his MAGA allies want to take it further and make life even harder for seniors. Their Project 2025 agenda would cut Social Security benefits. And that means millions of Americans, including folks right here in Florida and right here in the Villages, who would be without the benefits that they rely on and work for their whole lives. Project 2025 would also potentially increase prescription drug costs for millions and others on Medicare, including nearly, again, 5 million people right here in Florida. So this means to many of our friends, neighbors, and family wouldn't be able to afford critical medication, creating quite literally a life or death situation. I won't stand by while Trump, J.D. Vance, Rick Scott, and all their MAGA allies choose to put their millionaire friends above our seniors. Vice President Harris and Governor Walz are fighting to help Americans of every age, so every person in our country can not just get by, but get ahead. Once you put in the work and play by the rules, our seniors should be able to retire with dignity. Vice President Harris has a plan to protect and strengthen Social Security and Medicare by making the wealthy pay their fair share, lowering prescription drug costs. Vice President Harris helped to limit the cost of insulin, for example, to $35 for seniors, allowing Medicare to negotiate drug prices and to cap the yearly out-of-pocket costs for prescriptions for Floridians. That's how you actually help seniors, by passing legislation, not passing out favors to your friends. I want to live in a country where we support our people, like our seniors, more, not less. And that's why I'll be fighting every day here in Florida, in District 35, and across the state to elect Vice President Harris and Governor Tim Walz. So, let me now introduce our next U.S. Senator, Debbie Mucarsel-Powell.
Hello everyone, good morning. Thank you so much to the Harden Walz team for having me here today, and for all of you that came this morning to talk about one of the most important issues that I think is centered to not only my campaign, but also to the Harris Waltz ticket. My name is Debbie Mucarsel-Powell, and I'm saying it so that everyone remembers, and you can also say it so that we can make sure that, you know, in November. And I am running to become Florida's next U.S. Senator and represent you in Washington, D.C. when we retire Rick Scott.
Yay.
I'm very proud to stand here with some incredible champions and warriors. Barbie, who is going to represent this district in the House, and Tom Keene, who's already shown us what is possible when we work together here in Florida to turn back our state in the right direction. And so I was thinking, you know, I have my talking points here that I will come to in a minute, but one of the main reasons why I'm here talking to you about Social Security, one of the main reasons why I decided to run, is because my mother lives with me. And my mother had this incredible courage of leaving everything behind when I was very young, our home country, bringing us here for opportunities, for freedom, for safety. And I watched her work her entire life for, you know, 12-hour shifts every single day, paying into her benefits so that she could retire with dignity. And she's now living with me, and I take care of her. And I've seen her struggle with her health the past year. And I see what she gets with her Social Security check. It's a very minimal amount, but it goes so far for her. And I can't imagine what it would be like if she lost that benefit. I'm running for my mother, but I'm also running for so many seniors that I have met along the way. I met Rita a few months ago in Jacksonville. She's a civil rights activist and leader, retired, who is now battling cancer. And she told me that the most important thing for her is to be able to rely on her Medicare benefits and her Social Security check so that she can put food on the table for her and for her husband. I'm running for the senior that I just met a few weeks ago in the Panhandle. She's an Uber driver now. She retired a few years back. She had an incredible career in an accounting firm. But now she can't make ends meet here in the state of Florida. Now she drives at night as an Uber driver. She told me how important her Social Security and her Medicare benefits are. That's why we're here today. Tomorrow we're going to be celebrating 79 years after the Social Security law was signed into effect. An incredible program that has allowed so many, millions of Americans to be able to pay into that benefit, retire with dignity, and hey, even play golf once in a while. And now, instead of celebrating this anniversary, we are talking about doing everything in our power to protect a benefit that Donald Trump and Rick Scott want to eliminate and attack. I spoke recently with another person in Miami who begged me to do everything in my power to beat Rick Scott and protect Social Security and Medicare, because now they want to raise the age to 69 years of age. That is what Project 2025 proposes. This is Trump's and Scott's plan. Scott wrote a plan, the 11-point American plan, that includes eliminating Medicare, Social Security, eliminating and repealing the Affordable Care Act, Obamacare, which provides insurance for more than 4 million Floridians. That's what we're talking about. We're not here to talk about what we can do together with the progress that we've already made. We are here fighting for our lives tooth and nail for the very basic necessities that seniors have. If they get their way, if they make those cuts, it would send 40% of seniors living in the state of Florida into poverty. And so there's a reason why we're here talking about this in the villages. Now we know that in the villages, of course, you know, there's this political, it tends to tilt to the right, but this is not a political issue. And this is what I want to tell all of you, and for you to tell your friends who live here in the villages. When they talk about government cuts, fiscal responsibility, eliminating all the waste in government, what Rick Scott is saying and what Donald Trump is saying is we're going to cut the programs that you rely on so that they can become wealthier and give those their private equity partners these programs that they can now privatize and make money off. That's what they're saying. This is not fiscal responsibility. This is going to cost all of us in the long run billions and billions of dollars. It is a basic program, Social Security, that you have been paying into your entire life, and that is why I am going to do everything in my power to make sure that we retire Rick Scott in November, but also to elect the Harris-Walz ticket in November, because only Vice President Kamala Harris now, as the candidate for the Democratic nominee for presidential election, is the person that is leading the effort to protect this basic program. Now let me see, because I'm talking from my heart here, let me see if I have forgotten anything. But look, yeah, finally, I don't think, and I think that you've seen, that there's absolutely no line that Donald Trump or Rick Scott will not cross to enact Project 2025, one of the most extreme agendas in our country that they're ready, they have a plan, they're ready to put in place. I am proud to stand here supporting Vice President Kamala Harris and the Harris-Walz ticket, because I know that they are going to be fighting for every Floridian like I am, regardless of political affiliation, because it starts with protecting Medicare, Social Security, the Affordable Care Act, and our freedoms and our rights, the freedoms that we've been able to enjoy for many, many decades that they now want to rob and take away from us. So thank you so much. Debbie Mucarsel-Powell, I'll be your next U.S. Senator. I don't know if there are any questions. Oh, we have the...
What's the first thing you would do to save Social Security?
One of the things that we want to make sure is to expand, I mean, one of the things that I did when I was in Congress is actually wrote a bill to expand coverage for Medicare, and it passed the House. We need to include coverage for dental, for optical, which right now Medicare doesn't include. We need to look at ways that we can continue to bring the funding in to protect the solvency of the program, and I have proposed actually allowing people that are making a certain amount of money, you know, over a certain amount, whether it's $500,000, $600,000, for them to continue to pay throughout the year instead of having that cap that stops at about $160,000. There are a lot of things that we can do. Unfortunately, right now, we are focused on just making sure that we protect what we have, but there are ways that we can expand it.
Earlier this year, there were cuts to Medicare Advantage, which is something many people here in the villages use. Do you have any plans for Medicare Advantage specifically if you are elected?
You know, when I was in Congress, actually, I met with a lot of the providers for Medicare Advantage. I think that we need to begin with expanding the basic Medicare coverage that we have. Medicare Advantage, as you all know, probably you have to pay into. It's like a supplemental insurance program for seniors. And a lot of seniors can't afford to pay into a Medicare Advantage program. I mean, I think that it's a great option for people that can afford to do that, but we have to include dental and optical and expand the basic Medicare coverage that we have right now.
Well, I'm in the villages and I'm single, and I know I'd probably be out on the street, and I'm sure there are a lot of people that this will be affected greatly with lowering the Social Security. I could not live.
Yeah. And one thing that that someone brought up to me that a lot of people don't realize, if you were a stay-at-home mom, if you were someone that stayed at home and your husband was the one working, your benefits are very, very low if your husband passes away.
Yeah.
So that's another thing that I want to focus on and look at ways to protect women that maybe relied on their husband's income, that were not working, but they were working at home, actually.
Right,
Let me just say I've done both. Sometimes that job is even harder.
Thank you.
But to protect women as they retire as well.
Thank you.
Yes. Yes, and in case, and very good point, we need to keep the Senate majority for us to be able to protect these programs. Right now, we have a very large map, and keeping the Senate majority runs through Florida. Don't let anyone tell you that we can't win in Florida, that Florida's gone, that Florida's red. Absolutely not true. Tom Keene showed the country who we truly are here, and it's true. It's about the issues. It's not about the politics, and that's what I want to continue to remind everyone. The Senate majority runs through Florida. If you want to protect these programs, if you want to have a Senate that will able to hold the line on Supreme Court justice nominations and confirmations. Remember how important this race will be. We do have a primary coming up August 20th. Please let everyone know that they have to come out and vote. The Democratic primary, there are other people, mine is not a highly contested primary, but we need to make sure that we win the primary. We have early voting right now. Please tell your friends, your family, all across the state, they have to come out and vote. Right now we have early voting, and then election day will be Tuesday, but they can vote now, during early voting.
I have a question.
Yeah.
It befuddles me that people continue to support Donald Trump. I mean, he has been so evident in his lies and his and most people I talk to say the same thing. I do not understand what the attraction is.
Right.
You're asking me to explain the attraction. Listen, if I find an answer, okay? Look,
Weird.
Let's come back to what happened. He was a personality. He was someone that came outside of politics as a personality. But what I saw very quickly in 2016 when he was speaking is that he uses populism to bring people into the fold, people that are resentful, that are angry, that are frustrated, and that's a lot of the people that came very quickly to him. Now, we're not going to be able to change the minds of every Trump supporter. We need to focus on the people that are on the fence right now. And there are a lot of people on the fence. And if the Republican primary in Florida should tell you that, Trump only got 80% of the Republican votes. Nikki Haley got 14%. 3% went to DeSantis. So those are the people that are coming into my race, that are coming to support Vice President Harris in her race, and I know because I've been talking to the team, they're coming to us. There are a lot of people that they don't know where to go. Those are the ones that we need to focus on to bring them into the fold and to bring unity back into our state and to be proud to be a Floridian. That's who we are. And I don't make any judgments on people, you know, what they think at the top of the ticket. It's very, very important for us to have respectful conversations. That's what I think people deserve, to understand why they're going that way. Be open-minded, don't make judgments, have conversations. I think that that's really important. Barbie, you want to say something?
I was just going to say, I think that he preys off of people's fear. He preys off of their beliefs and lies, and the only way we can combat that is by making sure that we elect Vice President Harris, because she's, again, centered on joy, centered on inclusion of everybody and the truth. And to me, that's the most important thing, and that's how we're going to combat, unfortunately, Donald Trump and his lies and his fear that he has just expanded.
Okay, thank you all we're going to end the press conference portion here, but if people want to keep chatting, please feel free.